Dementia doesn't begin with forgetting names. It starts quietly, in the body, in the senses, in sleep, a breakdown in your internal compass long before memory ever fails. And the scariest part? You might be living next to someone going through it. You might be someone going through it without even knowing. This isn't fear-mongering. It's neuroscience. Today, we're exposing 10 subtle signs of dementia backed by decades of data, and what you can still do if you catch them early enough. 1. Posture changes and subtle movement shifts. Before memory slips, motor control often does. Research shows that the cerebellum and basal ganglia, areas involved in balance and coordination, begin to deteriorate in early-stage dementia. That can show up as slower gait, shorter stride, shuffling feet, or even trouble holding utensils. People may start dragging one leg or leaning slightly to one side. These aren't just orthopedic issues. They're the brain misfiring movement signals. One overlooked clue? A noticeable change in someone's walking rhythm or arm swing, often dismissed as aging, but rooted in cortical decline. Second, sensory confusion, vision, smell, and hearing. The brain doesn't just think, it interprets sensory input. A major early marker in Alzheimer's is a breakdown in the olfactory bulb and entorhinal cortex. Translation: you lose your sense of smell, often years before memory loss kicks in. People report food tasting dull, or being unable to detect smoke or spoiled milk. Then comes hearing. Studies link midlife hearing loss with a doubled risk of dementia. Why? Because when the auditory cortex weakens, the brain overcompensates, draining resources from memory and executive function. And depth perception? When spatial processing falters, people misjudge stairs, bump into furniture, or stop driving at night. These aren't clumsy habits. They're cortical red flags. Third, grip weakness and muscle decline. The strength of your hand may reflect the strength of your mind. Multiple cohort studies, including those from the UK Biobank, have linked reduced grip strength in older adults to increased dementia risk. Muscle weakness isn't just a symptom, it may be a predictor. Why? Because muscle activation relies on clean neural signaling. When the motor cortex or neuromuscular junctions begin to fray, strength fades. And when strength fades, activity declines. That inactivity accelerates both physical and cognitive decline, feeding a vicious loop. 4. Sleep disturbance, especially REM disruption. Sleep isn't rest, it's a neuro-cleansing system. Deep, slow-wave sleep activates the glymphatic system, your brain's waste removal highway. Without it, neurotoxic proteins like beta amyloid and tau accumulate, directly contributing to Alzheimer's pathology. But the symptom that really stands out? REM sleep behavior disorder, RBD. It's a hallmark precursor of Lewy body dementia. And it's far more common than we thought. Kicking, talking, shouting, vivid nightmares. These aren't random. They're signs the brainstem isn't regulating muscle activity during dreams. That dysregulation often points to synuclein buildup, the same protein seen in Parkinson's and LBD. If someone suddenly needs naps, has fragmented nights, or develops intense, frequent dreams, their brain may be signaling the start of a degenerative shift. 5. Apathy, social withdrawal, and emotional blunting. This one's tricky because it often mimics depression. But apathy in dementia is different. It's not sadness. It's a neurological shutdown in motivation and reward pathways, specifically the anterior cingulate cortex and orbitofrontal regions. People stop initiating activities. They lose interest in once loved hobbies. Conversations become passive, reactive, or disappear altogether. Even their facial expressions flatten. You might see someone stop attending gatherings, skip their usual walk, or watch TV for hours without really watching. The light is still on, but no one's driving. And unlike mood disorders, This apathy doesn't respond well to social encouragement. It's not a phase, it's a sign. Sixth, word finding trouble and aphasia. Not all language issues are created equal. Dementia-related aphasia is more than tip of the tongue. It's repeated substitution of incorrect terms, calling a jacket a thing, forgetting simple nouns, or freezing mid-sentence. In primary progressive aphasia, PPA, language impairment is the first and dominant symptom. But even in typical Alzheimer's, naming and fluency start to degrade early on. Neuroscience pinpoints this to degradation in Broca's and Wernicke's areas. The left temporal and frontal lobes shrink, and so does speech. Over time, people begin repeating phrases, pausing excessively, or defaulting to vague, general words. This isn't forgetting vocabulary, it's losing the brain's ability to access or string words together. 7. Time and place disorientation. You wake up and have no idea what day it is. That's one thing. But when someone gets lost on their way home, or walks into their kitchen and asks where they are, that's spatial temporal confusion, a deeper cognitive fracture. The hippocampus, the brain's GPS and memory anchor, starts to atrophy early in Alzheimer's. That's why people may ask the same time-related questions over and over, not because they weren't told, but because they can't retain the answer. And when place orientation slips, people may confuse decades, thinking they still live in their childhood home or referring to long-dead relatives as if they're alive. These shifts can feel surreal to loved ones, but to the brain in decline, it's not surreal. It's the new reality. 8. Misplacing items in bizarre locations. Keys in the fridge, glasses in the oven, the phone in the dishwasher. This isn't typical forgetfulness. It's a breakdown in the brain's spatial memory circuits, especially the parietal lobes and hippocampus. People with dementia don't just lose items. They put them in illogical places, then can't retrace their steps. This also fuels suspicion and paranoia. You stole my purse. Someone took my meds. It's not hostility. It's the brain trying to make sense of the senseless. When misplacing things turns into misinterpreting reality, it's a sign the disease has moved past memory and into perception. 9. Hallucinations and false perceptions. Though less common early on, hallucinations, especially in Lewy body dementia, are a major signal of neurodegeneration. People may see people who aren't there, hear voices, or smell things that don't exist. And it's not just imagination, these are real to them, vivid, consistent, and sometimes terrifying. Hallucinations usually arise from degeneration in the occipital and temporal lobes, and are often triggered by environmental overstimulation or poor lighting. It's critical not to dismiss them, but also not to reinforce them. Gentle redirection is more effective than confrontation. 10. Incontinence and loss of body signals. One of the final systems to break down in dementia is autonomic control, bladder and bowel regulation. As the disease progresses into deeper subcortical regions, people may lose the ability to sense urgency or locate a bathroom. This isn't about poor hygiene. It's the brain losing connection with its most basic survival functions. It's a heartbreaking sign and one of the most challenging for caregivers. But even this late-stage symptom can be managed with routine, gentle prompts, and dignity-focused care. So, what can you do about it? There's no silver bullet. But early detection changes the game. If these signs are showing up, especially in combination, it's time to seek a full neurological assessment. Sometimes it's not dementia at all. It could be B12 deficiency, thyroid imbalance, or chronic stress. But if it is dementia, catching it early opens doors to real intervention. Cognitive stimulation therapy helps strengthen neural networks. Strength training and aerobic exercise increase BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which supports neuroplasticity. Diets rich in polyphenols, healthy fats, and omega-3s help reduce brain inflammation. And deep restorative sleep clears toxic waste via the glymphatic system, slowing cognitive erosion. New treatments like lecanemab and donanemab, monoclonal antibodies that target amyloid plaques, are offering new hope for early-stage Alzheimer's. They're not cures, but they're progress. The bottom line: dementia doesn't arrive with a sign around its neck. It tiptoes in, rewiring your senses, your habits, your words, until one day, the person looking back at you in the mirror feels unfamiliar. But there is time. If you notice these signs, don't wait. Talk to a doctor, get assessed, rule out reversible causes, and if it's the real thing, get ahead of it. Because the brain isn't just something you live with, it's something you can fight for. Stay tuned in here for more important health videos that could save or improve your life. Take care of each other and be well.